Okay, they might have liked your picture, but do they know the lore? Hi, if you're new here, my name is Alex Wolf. I'm a tech philosopher and investor, and today I just wanted to talk about how going viral doesn't really mean much. And I feel like I have to say that because when I'm scrolling through threads, when I'm scrolling through the internet, half of the content is about going viral. Half of the content is viral, and then half of the content is about going viral. And I feel like it's not worth putting that much time into figuring out how to go viral. Here's why. So, virality is appealing because it feels like a big break, right? It feels like all you need to do is go viral, and then after that, you're done. You're gonna get all these fans, your life changes overnight. And I feel like that was more the case in the early days of the internet. In the early days of the internet, going viral meant you were probably gonna get invited to like Ellen or Good Morning America, right? There would be an internet sensation, it would go insane, and people wanted to tap in, they wanted to double click, they wanted to learn more about you. What's the origin? What's the story, right? But since then, there has been so much more media consumption and just so much more media, like the density of it has increased so much. And not only that, but people have, the way we consume the media is now designed so that we only see viral content. So let me give you an example. Let's say it's 2011 or 2012. You're home watching YouTube. You're not necessarily watching only viral content. Or say you're scrolling through Instagram in 2014, 15, 16, 17. You're not scrolling through only highly engaged with content. You're scrolling through random stuff that probably has a few views, a few likes, right? You're scrolling through your friends. Where what happened with TikTok, I think, was a huge influence for this, is TikTok said, we're just gonna compile the most viral stuff and start feeding that and start, using that. And I'm not giving TikTok inventors credit for that, because that came from a way of other platforms experimenting with how to use user-generated content that is upvoted by the consumers to be prioritized. But basically, we went from kind of like seeing content that was not necessarily all viral or didn't meet this threshold of engagement, whereas now if you scroll through your Instagram Reels or TikTok Reels, most of those pieces of content, not all, but most, have already reached a threshold of engagement, and that's why they're circulating it, right? So just by way of the fact that you're seeing more content that has hit a threshold that would be considered viral, is taking away the significance of what going viral actually means. What are you freaking out about? So, it's taken away the significance of what going viral actually means. So now, and then also, typically when you're engaging with content that has high engagement, let's say mild to moderate to high virality, quote unquote, how often are you actually clicking the person's page? How often are you actually exploring their lore and their rabbit hole? So let's talk about that. So, in order to become a fan of someone's work, you need to explore a rabbit hole of sorts. It can't just be a one touch point. It can happen where someone sees one piece of content, they decide they love you right there in that moment. But typically what I use as a good measure is 3 positive impression points. If you can make 3 positive impressions on the internet, you can consider someone an actual fan. Because usually how it works is they hear what you have to say, or they hear the music, or they see your art the first time and they're like, I like this. And they might either keep scrolling around and hopefully they see you again, or they might actually go on your profile and look to tap around to see, am I gonna like the second thing they show me? Am I gonna like the third thing they show me? It's not a conscious process, but it's the behavior of someone who is showing interest. They want more, they're interested. Now, I think a lot of that rabbit hole exploring has become more shallow. Like, I feel like the depths of those rabbit hole canals used to be deeper and the cavities were more pronounced, where I think because of how we're being fed the content, because we are already having curated viral, moderate to mild viral content being displayed in front of us, it gives us less of a reason to really dial into these rabbit holes. But rabbit holes are very important for everybody who has something to say, who has something to sell, who has, you know, art that they want to express, like whatever it is. If you're trying to really build a genuine, authentic connection between you and your audience, the exploration and the incentives for people to go down those rabbit holes, that should be high. And because of the way we're designing the internet, it's keeping people out of the rabbit holes. Like, as much as TikTok is an amazing experience for most people, they very expertly have crafted it to be so good that you really don't feel a need to go out. You don't feel a need to go out. Like, once you walk into TikTok, you just know, like, I don't even want to leave. I'm coming in because I don't want to go to another website. I don't want to necessarily go to YouTube. I don't want to necessarily go to a shopping cart. It happens, obviously, but it doesn't happen in the same way it used to happen when people would try to invite them into their rabbit holes and into their lore. I think pre-viral fed consumption behavior patterns were established. I know it sounds like a mouthful. I'm not trying to sound more sophisticated than I need to be, but I'm just trying to use articulate language here. And so I'm saying all of this to say that going viral, even if you have a successful piece of content that gets wide distribution, I'm not saying it's stupid and there's no point and there's nothing to benefit. I'm just saying that the emphasis we put on, oh, this is what you should be doing to go viral, this is how I went viral, blah, 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 blah. It's like, but who actually double clicked? Who actually double tapped? Who actually wanted to explore your story and your lore and what you have to say? Because another thing is that even as recent as 2020, I would dare to say that people had the attention span for your story. And now I feel like people just have an attention span for experiencing a mood or an emotion. So like before, you might have had 30 seconds in 2020, now you have 5. And so you can't really communicate a complex thought in 5 seconds, but you can generate a mood. And that's why, if you watch my other video about the media diet, that's why humor and inspo still performs very well on the internet, because you can make someone laugh or feel inspired within those 5 seconds. Now the trick is, how do you leverage that mood, that experience that you create, to motivate people to want to dig deeper into your story and who you actually are? And if you're going to use a gimmicky trend that everybody's doing to become viral, how is that? I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just really trying to offer a critical perspective of how is that going to make someone say, this person is different and interesting, I want to double click on their platform. It's possible. You can brand through memes, right? So say, for example, like right now, this is gonna sound dated in like a week, but right now we're doing like in the club, we all fam. Shout out to Broad City. So you can put your own branded twist on in the club, we all fam. Like, I guess something for me, like in the club, we all agree that we live in a tech dystopia, right? And so if a stranger sees that, they see, oh, okay, this person also thinks that we live in a tech dystopia or has a humor about that. I relate to that. Let me double click and actually see what the hell is going on over here. Do you get what I'm saying? But if you don't add that twist, if you don't add the lore, if you don't have opportunities for your audience to little by little start to pick up on the symbols and meaning behind what it is you have to say, you're not going to build a real connection with your audience. You might have a ton of people following you and they don't give a shit about you, or they're fickle and they're here today, gone tomorrow in terms of their attention span. So, and the other issue is that there's a lot of people who don't have any meaning behind what they're saying. They're just getting on and doing trends and doing gimmicks without having a deeper message, which is fine. But what's happening is we're all getting, smushed together. The people, the artists, the content creators, the influencers, the business people, because we're all sharing the same third-party social media applications. And my message and what I want you to remember, if you are caring about building an audience who has a deep connection to you and not just a shallow double click. I used to talk about how, I have a video on here. I think it's called what is the significance of a like button, right? And it's really just challenging this idea that if we were to measure the actual emotional effort, what is the actual meaning behind a double tap? It's not much, right? And my argument was that if you're trying to measure how close your audience feels to you, pay more attention to the length of their comments. Pay more attention to if they're sharing the content. Pay more attention to if they are saving the content, because those gestures, they're all taps, right? It's just the way we measure these taps are so weird. And I felt like the like tap was such an insignificant tap to build an economy on, because again, in 2015, 2016, brands were waking up to the fact oh shit, we need to get on social media. Okay, we're gonna hire this millennial. Now they're hiring Gen Z, which is a whole nother topic. We're gonna hire this millennial and they're gonna make sure we get a bunch of likes. Look how much likes this got. And we really were so clueless to think that the likes meant that people must like it. Now, of course, it does mean that in some sense, but not enough to build a whole economy of people panicking around, oh, well, we're aiming to get this many likes, or else we're going to see this campaign as a failure. That's how crazy shit started to get. And I feel like we've replaced that like obsession with the views obsession now, which I see the importance of mass exposure 100%. I see the importance of wanting to get as many views as possible. But if you want to get as many views as possible and you don't have meaning or lore or a strategy to get people to double tap into who you are and what your story is and wanting to actually sit down and listen to you, then we're just commodifying the attention economy to a really scary race to the bottom. Because now we're just harvesting attention for attention's sake, and now it's just who can get the quickest reaction and who can, meaning gets lost. And this is why I got into tech philosophy, because my big question is, where is the meaning? I see the convenience, I see the cheapness, I see how it's faster, I see how it's more quote unquote productive. I don't see how it's adding meaning into our lives. I see how it's taking it away. I see how my generation can't look at each other in the eyes. I see how we're dealing with depression and anxiety in ways we've never had before. I'm seeing all these scary consequences. Where is the meaning? So how do you create some lore? Lore is generated through, honestly, time. The reason why I have such an amazing audience, and people can look at my audience and be like, how could this girl say she's a social media girl? She doesn't have 1 million followers. Because I have a real audience. I have a real connection with my audience. And the first thing a lot of you guys say is, I've been following you for 10 years, 5 years. So the time is always going to make relationships more valuable. So think about how you can be using time and investing time and that's why being consistent does matter, because time is really what helps build trust. So if you want to build lore, and let me also explain what lore is, just in case you don't know. Lore is a nickname for folklore, which is kind of like the myths and legends that we think of when we think of like the Princess and the Pea, or like the folklore of Lord of the Rings, or like, you know, stories with symbols and morals, right? And what do morals and symbols represent? Things that mean shit. So you might have symbols in your content, you might have symbols in your messages, and over time, if they get repeated, your audience starts to pick up on the lore behind things. Kind of like, they're like Easter eggs. Easter eggs are little symbols that pay homage to concepts that are bigger than just you, right? They represent something bigger that has meaning, and your audience appreciates those Easter eggs, and they appreciate that lore. And when you post and when you talk, it's almost like you guys have an insider's language, and that is a form of intimacy. It is a form of genuine connection. What are we on the internet for? To just chaos, viral scrolling views land? Because that's what it feels like, because we still haven't really woken up to the meaning of life. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it. So everything is like so fear-based, in my opinion. The decisions, the reasons why we invest in things and AI and robots, it's very much motivated by fear and ego, as opposed to what is harmonious with nature and humanity and well-being. That conversation is really behind the main combo here. It's coming, but woo, she's late, honey. Because the speed and the money and the adoption and the behaviors are just dragging, they're gone. We got people posting like it's 2015. We got people posting like it's 2020, not knowing just 4 years can make a complete difference in what your content strategy should look like. So going viral doesn't really matter that much. I don't think it's worth that being a focus. And if it is, just make sure you have a strategy to take that exposure and actually bring people somewhere with meaning. Don't let the conversation just end there. You get what I'm saying? Don't let the attention just end there. Tap into your lore, tap into the symbols, tap into the meaning behind what it is that you do if you want to build a genuine audience. Also, if you like what I have to say, if you vibe with me, you'll probably vibe with my book, Resonate, for anyone who wants to build an audience. It's all rooted in this same type of ideology. It's gotten 5-star reviews. It's a bestseller. I have the link in the description. Check it out. Bye.